When I was 16 years old, I met Sonny, Salvatore Philip Bono. And the first time I ever saw him, he walked in this room, and I had never seen anything like him before in my life.
I don't know if I can actually say what happened because it's so personal and it's embarrassing.
At 79, Cher finally breaks her silence about the horrors of being married to Sonny Bono.
They own 95% of the company, and his lawyer owned 5%, and it was called Cher Enterprises, but I owned nothing. And we'd worked together for almost 12 years.
12 years of stolen money, 5 times standing on a Las Vegas balcony ready to jump, and a husband who admitted he seriously considered throwing her off himself.
He just didn't care about me. I'm not so sure how much he cared for a little while, but I was like, I don't know, I was not an employee, that's for sure, but I didn't have any kind of freedom.
This is the untold story of how America's favorite couple was actually in his prey. In November 1962, Sherilyn Sarkisian walked into a Los Angeles coffee shop and straight into a trap that would define the next 13 years of her life. She was 16, a high school dropout with dreams bigger than her circumstances. Sonny Bono was 27, 11 years older, and already working in the music industry as Phil Spector's assistant. The age gap wasn't just a number, it was a power differential that Sonny immediately exploited. When Cher describes their first meeting, she unknowingly reveals the calculated nature of his approach. She was homeless, vulnerable, desperate for protection. He offered shelter with a devastating condition that should have been a warning. His opening move was textbook psychological manipulation. By telling a 16-year-old girl she wasn't particularly attractive, he was ensuring she would be grateful for any attention he gave her later. This wasn't honesty. It was a calculated strike designed to lower her defenses while establishing his control from day one. The grooming process was textbook. Cher had grown up in poverty, shuffled between homes, abandoned by her father. Her mother worked multiple jobs and married repeatedly, leaving Cher to fend for herself from childhood. When Sonny offered stability, she mistook control for care. When he offered guidance, she missed the isolation tactics. Cher's own description of their relationship reveals how effectively he positioned himself as her savior. What she experienced as protection was actually dependency. Sonny wasn't protecting her from the world. He was protecting his investment from outside influence. The isolation began immediately. While other young women her age were dating, attending school, or building friendships, Cher was trapped in Sonny's apartment, dependent on him for everything. She wasn't his girlfriend. She was his project. He discovered her singing voice not through romance but through surveillance, listening to her from around the corner while she cleaned his apartment. The transition from roommate to romantic partner wasn't natural development. It was calculated escalation. Sonny had spent months establishing himself as her provider, her mentor, her only source of stability. When he finally made romantic overtures, she had already been conditioned to see him as essential to her survival. Their first marriage ceremony in 1964, when Cher was 18, was itself a lie. Both would later admit it wasn't legal. This fake wedding served a crucial purpose. It gave their relationship public legitimacy while maintaining his private control. She believed she was his wife. He knew she was still his employee. By the time they achieved success with I Got You Babe in 1965, the pattern was locked in place.
Babe, I got you, babe.
Cher provided the talent, the voice, the visual appeal that drew audiences. Sonny provided the control, the manipulation, the systematic theft of her identity. What America saw as a love song was actually a contract of servitude. The public never saw the 16-year-old girl who had been systematically isolated from friends, family, and any support system outside of Sonny's influence. They saw the glamorous half of a successful duo, but Cher was still that vulnerable teenager inside, now trapped by fame, contracts, and a web of financial dependency that made escape seem impossible. When journalists asked about their 11-year age gap, Sonny would joke about being her mentor. What he never mentioned was that mentorship had become ownership and the student had become property. The coffee shop meeting that seemed like destiny was actually a recognizing perfect prey, a homeless, fatherless teenager desperate enough to accept any terms for survival. By 1971, Sonny and Cher had become the unlikely darlings of prime time with the Sonny and Cher Comedy Hour. Television audiences saw chemistry, banter, and American sweethearts. Behind the cameras, Cher was living in a prison disguised as a palace, and the weekly television show was both her showcase and her shackles. The success was intoxicating for Sonny, but devastating for Cher. As their popularity soared, his control intensified. The man who had once told a 16-year-old she wasn't attractive, now obsessed over every aspect of her appearance, her interactions, her movements. He monitored who she spoke to, what she wore, where she went.
Sonny was very, he wasn't friendly.
No, they isolate you.
Right,
Yeah.
completely.
Yeah.
And so what I did on the show, and like everyone thought like, well, if this was your relationship, then the show must have been fake. But there couldn't have been anything less than, farther from the truth.
The isolation was systematic and complete. Sonny banned her from attending band dinners, industry parties, or social events where she might connect with other people. He particularly targeted any relationships with other men, going so far as to burn her tennis clothes when he discovered she had spoken with her tennis coach outside of their lessons. What made their television success particularly twisted was how Sonny weaponized their on-screen chemistry. During filming, Cher experienced brief moments of equality, the only times in their relationship where she felt like his partner rather than his property. These moments of reprieve made the return to reality even more crushing. Sonny used these moments of genuine connection to keep her trapped, promising that their personal relationship could be like their professional one if she just tried harder, complained less, submitted more completely. The show's format itself became a tool of psychological abuse. Week after week, America watched Cher deliver perfectly timed insults to Sonny, putting him down with deadpan humor that had audiences roaring. What they didn't realize was that these scripted moments of power were the only time Cher was allowed to express any criticism of her husband. The comedy show became her only outlet for the frustration and anger she couldn't express in private. Sonny controlled every aspect of their career while maintaining the illusion that they were equal partners. He wrote the songs, arranged the performances, negotiated the contracts, and managed their money. Cher provided the talent that made it all possible, but had no say in how that talent was used or compensated. The television show's massive success, drawing up to 30 million viewers weekly, should have meant financial security for both of them. Instead, it became another mechanism of control. The more successful they became, the more dependent Cher grew on a system designed to keep her powerless. Behind the scenes, Sonny's paranoia intensified with their fame. He became convinced that Cher would leave him if given any opportunity, so he systematically eliminated all opportunities. He hired staff members loyal to him, negotiated contracts that bound her to him professionally, and created a financial structure that made independence impossible. The cruelest aspect of their television success was how it isolated Cher from potential allies. Other entertainers saw her as half of a power couple, not recognizing the hidden behind their public chemistry. Industry professionals dealt with Sonny as her manager and husband, assuming she was a willing participant in their arrangements. Even more devastating was how the show's success convinced Cher that she needed Sonny to survive in the entertainment industry. Every week, millions of Americans tuned in to watch Sonny and Cher, not just Cher. He made sure she understood that without him, she would be nothing, just another failed actress in Hollywood. The television show that made them stars also became the perfect cover for systematic abuse. Who would believe that America's favorite couple was actually a captor and his victim? The brighter their public stars shone, the darker their private reality became. The most devastating revelation in Cher's memoir isn't the abuse or the controlling behavior. It's the systematic financial theft that left her with nothing after 12 years of generating millions. What Sonny did to Cher wasn't just betrayal, it was corporate kidnapping disguised as marriage. In December 1973, everything changed when Cher began dating music executive David Geffen. Unlike everyone else in their circle, Geffen was sophisticated enough to recognize financial abuse when he saw it. When he asked Cher about her contract with CBS, her response revealed the depth of her ignorance about her own career.
Cher
It was
Enterprises.
very much like Born Yesterday.
When you were on David Letterman with Sonny, you could see the conflict in you.
I knew it was going to be easy for me, but I knew it was going to be hard for him.
Geffen's investigation uncovered a financial structure so deliberately exploitative that it qualified as involuntary servitude under the 13th Amendment. Sonny had created a company called Cher Enterprises, using her name to create the illusion that she owned her own career. In reality, Sonny owned 95% of the company, his lawyer owned 5%, and Cher owned nothing. The contracts Sonny had tricked her into signing over the years were masterpieces of legal manipulation. Cher was classified as an employee of Cher Enterprises with a salary she was never actually paid and 3 weeks of vacation per year. She couldn't sign a check, withdraw money, or make any financial decisions without Sonny's or his lawyer's approval. For 12 years, Cher had generated millions through their records, television shows, concerts, and appearances. She saw none of it. Every dollar she earned went directly to Sonny, who then decided how much allowance to give her. She was literally working for tips from her own career. The psychological manipulation accompanying the financial theft was equally sophisticated. Sonny convinced Cher that finances were too complicated for her to understand, that he was protecting her from the burden of business decisions. He positioned his theft as husbandly care, making her feel grateful for his management of their money. When Cher finally confronted him about the financial arrangements, his response revealed the calculated nature of his decade-long theft. This wasn't an explanation, it was an admission. Sonny had stolen her money specifically to prevent her from having the resources to escape him. The legal battle that followed exposed the full scope of Sonny's financial abuse. Cher's divorce filing included the unprecedented claim of involuntary servitude, directly invoking the constitutional amendment that outlawed slavery. Her lawyers argued that Sonny had used their marriage and business partnership to create a system of forced labor where Cher worked for years without compensation. Sonny's response to being exposed was predictable. He filed for divorce first, trying to control the narrative and claim the victim position. But the evidence was overwhelming. Financial records showed that during their most successful years, when they were earning millions, Cher received essentially nothing, while Sonny accumulated wealth and assets. The contract structure was so obviously designed to trap Cher that it couldn't be explained as oversight or standard practice. Sonny had worked with lawyers to create a system that would prevent Cher from ever gaining independence. Every document was crafted to maintain his control while giving her the illusion of partnership. Even after their separation, the financial warfare continued. Cher was forced to pay Sonny $2 million to escape her Cher Enterprises contracts, literally paying him for the right to own her own career. She had to buy her freedom from a man who had stolen everything she'd earned. The most chilling aspect of Sonny's financial abuse was its sophistication. This wasn't impulsive greed or sloppy accounting. It was a carefully planned, legally structured system of theft that took advantage of Cher's youth, inexperience, and trust. He had turned their marriage into a criminal enterprise with her as both the primary asset and the unknowing victim. Years later, Cher would still struggle to understand the psychology behind Sonny's actions. The question haunts her because it exposes the premeditated nature of his betrayal. This wasn't a mistake or a gradual slide into abuse, but a deliberate plan executed over more than a decade. October 1972, Las Vegas, the Sahara Hotel. 26-year-old Cher stood barefoot on her suite's balcony, looking down at the pavement far below. This wasn't a moment of dramatic despair. It was the culmination of a systematic psychological destruction that had been building for a decade. Cher's memoir reveals she contemplated suicide 5 or 6 separate times. Let that sink in. This wasn't one moment of crisis. It was a pattern of psychological that repeatedly drove America's most famous female entertainer to consider ending her life rather than continue living under Sonny's control. The balcony incidents weren't triggered by dramatic fights or they were the result of relentless, grinding psychological warfare that had convinced Cher she had no value, no options, no escape. Sonny had systematically destroyed her sense of self until jumping seemed like her only path to freedom. Each time she stood on that balcony, Cher faced the same impossible choice: continue living as Sonny's property or end the suffering permanently. The fact that she seriously considered multiple times reveals the depth of her desperation. This wasn't teenage melodrama. This was a grown woman so thoroughly broken by abuse that death felt preferable to life. What stopped her wasn't hope for the future or belief in her own worth. Those had been systematically destroyed. What saved her was the realization that her suicide might encourage others facing similar despair.
Dream right after he died, and I've never had a dream like this at all. I was in my dream, I saw him, and it was like sitting here seeing you. And he didn't talk, though, and I kept talking to him, and he wouldn't talk back to me, and then all of a sudden, he turned, and he smiled.
The balcony moments were made even more horrifying by Sonny's response when she later told him about them. Rather than showing concern or remorse, he admitted to his own violent fantasies about throwing her off their balcony after she had confessed attraction to their guitarist. His confession revealed the true nature of their relationship. When Cher was contemplating, Sonny was they were locked in a psychological death spiral where both of them saw violence as the only solution to their toxic dynamic. Sonny's murder fantasy wasn't spontaneous rage. It was calculated. He told Cher he had researched the legal precedent, planning to plead insanity like Spade Cooley and serve 7 years before being released. He even planned his post-prison career with a book deal and his own show. The fact that they could laugh about these mutual death fantasies shows how normalized violence and psychological had become in their relationship. What should have been the most horrifying conversation of their marriage became just another moment of dark humor between two people trapped in their own toxic creation. The balcony incidents were also a direct result of Sonny's systematic isolation tactics. Cher had no friends to call, no family members who understood her situation, no support system outside of Sonny himself. When your captor is also your only emotional lifeline, suicide seemed like the only form of independence available. What makes Cher's survival even more remarkable is that she found her own way back from the edge. No intervention, no therapy, no outside rescue. Standing on that balcony for the final time, she had an epiphany that would save her life. This realization seems obvious from the outside, but for someone who had been systematically broken down for over a decade, it was revolutionary. Sonny had convinced her that she couldn't survive without him, that she had no value outside their partnership, that leaving him would mean career death and financial ruin. The balcony moments represent the absolute lowest point of Cher's psychological destruction, but also the beginning of her rebellion. Each time she stepped back from the edge was an act of defiance against a man who wanted to own her completely. Her survival was the ultimate rejection of his control. The fact that Cher can now discuss these moments publicly in interviews and her memoir shows how completely she has reclaimed her power from a man who tried to destroy her. The 16-year-old girl who moved in with Sonny Bono disappeared somewhere in that psychological torture chamber. The woman who stepped back from those balconies was someone entirely new, someone who refused to be owned, controlled, or broken. The escape from Sonny Bono's psychological and financial prison didn't happen overnight. It was a carefully orchestrated campaign that required Cher to sacrifice the very thing that had made her famous. The Sonny and Cher brand that had defined American entertainment for over a decade. With David Geffen's support, Cher hired her own lawyer and confronted Sonny with an ultimatum that would determine her fate. renegotiate their contracts to give her equal ownership, or she would walk away from everything they had built together. Sonny's refusal revealed that he would rather destroy their empire than give up control of her.
And I said, just tell me one thing. And I still to this day, if he came back, that's what I'd ask him. What was the moment you thought it would be right to take all my money?
Cher's desperate call to CBS head Fred Silverman, begging him to cancel their hit show, was one of the most desperate gambles in television history. The Sonny and Cher Comedy Hour was expected to be renewed for another season, bringing in millions in revenue. But Cher chose career suicide over continued enslavement. In January 1974, they filmed their final episode together. 1 month later, Sonny filed for divorce, trying to control the narrative one last time. But Cher's legal team was ready with their nuclear option, a divorce filing that accused Sonny of involuntary servitude in direct violation of the 13th Amendment. This wasn't typical divorce rhetoric. It was a legal declaration that their marriage had been a form of slavery. The accusation drove Sonny into a rage because it exposed the true nature of what he had done to her. For 12 years, he had used marriage as cover for a criminal enterprise that kept Cher in forced labor. The divorce proceedings became a public spectacle that revealed uncomfortable truths about power dynamics and celebrity relationships. While the media focused on custody battles and property disputes, the real story was Cher's legal claim that she had been held in a form of slavery disguised as marriage and business partnership. Even in divorce, Sonny's control continued. Cher was forced to pay him $2 million to escape her contracts with Cher Enterprises, literally buying her freedom from a man who had already stolen everything she had earned. She also had to fulfill over $1 million worth of performance obligations before she could be legally free from his control. The most remarkable aspect of Cher's escape was her decision to maintain a working relationship with Sonny, even after exposing his financial abuse. Their professional reunion for the Sonny and Cher show from 1976 to 1977 demonstrated her ability to separate the work they did well together from the toxic relationship that had nearly destroyed her. This wasn't Stockholm Syndrome. It was a mature recognition that their creative chemistry was real, even if their personal relationship had been built on manipulation and control. Sonny's eventual apology, years later, provided some closure but couldn't undo the damage. The apology was important, but it came decades too late to heal the psychological wounds.
I think he's screwing with my chandelier. I'm almost positive.
He's screwing with, like, the lights are going on and off and
Yeah,
stuff?
well, just one chandelier that I have. And I just think, you know what, it must be you, because it never did this before. I bought this new chandelier, and I just think, you know, it just came to my mind, and it's not.
Even after his death in 1998, Cher's relationship with Sonny's memory remains complicated. She can acknowledge his talents in their creative partnership while never forgetting the systematic abuse that defined their personal relationship. Her ability to hold both truths simultaneously shows the psychological sophistication she developed to survive their marriage. The ongoing legal battle with Sonny's widow, Mary Bono, over royalties proves that the financial warfare continues even decades after his death. In 2021, Cher had to sue Mary Bono to protect the 50% share of royalties guaranteed in her 1978 divorce settlement. The fact that she's still fighting for money she earned in the 1960s and 1970s shows how completely Sonny had rigged the system against her. Cher's survival and eventual triumph over Sonny's control represents more than personal victory. It's a blueprint for escaping systematic abuse disguised as love. Her willingness to tell the truth about their relationship, even knowing it would complicate his legacy, demonstrates the courage required to break cycles of abuse that rely on silence and shame. At 79, Cher's decision to publish these details in her memoir isn't revenge, it's education. By exposing the sophisticated methods Sonny used to control and exploit her, she's providing a warning to other young women who might mistake manipulation for protection, control for care, and psychological prison for love. The 16-year-old girl who walked into that coffee shop in 1962 was destroyed by what happened next. But the woman who emerged from that experience became one of the most independent, successful, and uncompromising entertainers in history. Sonny tried to own her completely, but ended up creating someone who could never be owned by anyone again. Anyway, that's it for this video, folks. Bye.